Hey friends, my name is Jiquilla McLeod, and we are back with another video of My Curious Mind, where we pick a random question that we've all put in and reference it to the Bible, see what the Bible has to say about it. It's a really good way to study the Bible and get questions that we have answered. So I'm not a person to just wait around, so let's get right into it. I have the jar here. Oh, this is a little one. I'll be so nervous picking because I just be impatient as to what it's gonna be. Ooh, how should men treat their wives? Alright, so this is actually one that I have not done yet. So this is actually going to be the first time we're really being able to go through this process without me just reading from what I already have and what I've already known. So we are going to be able to study this together, which is pretty exciting because now you'll get the real feel of how I usually do it. So again, let's just pray really quick to open up our minds and just be receiving to what the Lord has to say to us, okay? All right. Father God, in the name of Jesus, Lord, I ask that you first forgive us for our sins, for everything we've done wrong and did bad, Lord, seen and unseen. Help us to be ready when you come back. Help us to be ready when it's our time to go, oh God. Lord, I ask that you just come into the room and that you allow us to be receiving, allow us to have an open mind, an open heart, and allow you to speak through us, oh God. Allow you to speak through me, oh God. Lord, help us to look past me and know that it is you, not my words, but your words, oh God. And I ask that you just lead and guide me in the way that you need me to, oh God. In the name of Jesus, amen. Amen. All right. So now we are going to go to Google because I use Google a lot. If I didn't have Google, I don't know what I would do, honestly, because I don't know, again, I don't know the whole Bible. So I am honestly learning with you all. This is why I started this group, so that we can learn together, because reading the Bible is not easy. And when you have someone to do it with you, you know, it makes it a little bit easier, although you still should be going and spending that time with God and recapping with him as well, because again, what he tells me might not be the same thing he tells you. So you always want to just talk to God for yourself. So let's go to Google, and if everybody follow along, you might as well just do it with me. If we go on Google and type in and say, how does the Bible, let's see. According to the Bible, how should men treat their wives? Let's do that. According to the Bible, how should men treat their wives, or their wife? Oh, men, wives, same thing. Okay. And the first one is the openbible.info. As I already told you before, that is my favorite site to go to, because it literally gives you a full list of what the Bible says. So let's click on it and see what the first verse is. So the first for the first verse is Colossians 3:19. 3:19 is my birthday. But Colossians 3:19 says, husbands, love your wives and do not be harsh with them. So what do you think that means? Because I haven't started this, I haven't done this one before, I am going to be writing it in my book, and I am going to be putting the date on it as to when, well, today's date. So whatever date you started it, put the date on there, and just put how should men treat their wives as the title. Okay, so 7, what is today's date? And sometimes I put the time too, depending. I put the time on it too, whatever. So now that we have that, I'm going to write down Colossians, because when I write it down, it's just a quick reference that I have with me. That way I don't have to like scroll through my phone trying to find things. I just have it right in front of me. All right. Colossians 3:19. And again, we're just going to read it again. Husbands, love your wives and do not be harsh with them. I'm going to speak for myself, and I've never been married, so this one is literally being referenced to the Bible. Women who want to be married, I would take this into consideration as to who you let in your life. And if you are married, I would still, be like, hey, honey, I need you to come watch this because we need to be studying this. So don't get too comfortable, ladies, though, because the ladies' question is in there as well. So yeah, I feel like it means that you should show love. Like, love is a question that's in there as to what love is, but as we know that love is a big part of God. Like, love exceeds all things, and for God to love the world, that He gave His only Son. Like, He loves us so much that He would do that for us. And when He wants us to represent Him well, He wants us to strive to be able to show the same kind of love that He shows us towards others. So when you're loving your wife, you should be loving her in the way that she needs to be loved. And being married, I'm not married, but I've been around a lot of married people, and from what I've seen is that it takes two, number one, and it takes a lot of getting an understanding of each other. Like, you really have to kind of, I used to say that I treat people how I would want them to treat me, when in reality, like, that might not be how they want to be treated. Just because it's okay with me doesn't mean that it's okay with them. So it's very good to like have questions, ask each other stuff, talk to each other on a deeper level. Communication is very important, and if you don't have that, then it will be very hard. So yeah, maybe we should look up what love is, because in the Bible, love is patient, love is kind. It's a whole list. So because it says, husbands, love your wives and do not be harsh to them, we should definitely look up what love is in the Bible. So I'm just gonna start I'm gonna start a new tab and say, what does God say about love? And again, the Open Bible info comes on again, but I'm looking for one specific one, and it's the first one. So it says, love is patient and kind. Love does not envy or boast. It is not arrogant or rude. It does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice at wrongdoing, but rejoices with the truth. Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, and endure all things. And that is 1 Corinthians 13, 4 through 7. 1 Corinthians 13, 4 through 7. And that right there just shows you a quick definition of what God sees love as. So if you're not treating your wife with those things, you might just want to regroup. And it's okay, like, if you don't know, you don't know, but you have to get an understanding. You have to want to get an understanding. You have to want to do better so that the relationship can grow, because honestly, the enemy don't want marriages to win. He sees that God looks at marriages as a good thing. So anything that God sees as a good thing, he wants to flip it and reverse it and make it bad. So that's why so many people get divorced, because they go into this really not knowing what they're getting themselves into. They see a lot of people posting about the good times and the actual wedding, the party, and thinking that it's just a game, but it's really not. Like, nobody really talks about the hard times in a marriage. They keep that part hidden and only show the good times. So a lot of people jump right into a marriage, and marriage is not easy at all. This is why I haven't settled, because I really want God to send that person into my life. I do not want to rush into anything, especially seeing that everybody that has gotten married, even at a young age, they all say, they wish they would have waited. They wish they would have taken that time to, fully get to know themselves. And right now, I'm just enjoying my single stage until God, chooses otherwise. But now let's go back to the husband's part of the open Bible. So now the second verse that they have is 1 Peter 3:7. And it says, likewise, husbands, live with your wives in an understanding way. So you should be understanding. And I feel like that should be on both sides. Like, it shouldn't just be my way or the highway. Like, we both have to have an understanding as to what each other needs from each other to be able to move forward. It continues to say, showing honor to the women as the weaker vessel, since they are heirs with you of the grace of life, so that your prayers may not be hindered. So when he says as the weaker vessel, meaning that we are supposed to be submitted to the man. We are supposed to, and I know a lot of people say, well, I'm not being submitted. I'm going to explain it really quick right now. A man is supposed to be submitted to God. And when he's submitted to God, he is able to lead his wife in the way that she needs to go, and she can be submitted to him and trust in him, because she knows that he is submitted to God. And if he is submitted to God and God ain't going to steer him the wrong way, then she's feel comfortable with him being submitted to God. And a lot of times, a lot of these men just want women to be submitted to them and have no sense of direction. Like, a lot of times it's, I don't know, or I don't want to, women have been taking the lead, and that's not how it's supposed to be. You can't expect me to be submitted to you when everything that come out of your mouth is, I don't know. If you don't know, how are you going to know for my life? Like, it's not okay. So us as a weaker vessel is supposed to be submitted to the man, but he should be showing honor and being able to lead us in the right way. And that's what I'm getting out of it. And I'm going to read that again. So it said, I'm going to read the whole thing all together. Likewise, husbands, live with your wives in an understanding way, showing honor to the women as the weaker vessel, since they are heirs with you of the grace of life, so that your prayers may not be hindered. So that last part is saying, so that your prayers may not be hindered. When you don't do right by your wife, and when you don't lead them in the right way, your prayers are being hindered, because you literally are leading over the woman, which even in the Bible it says leaders are being held to a higher standard, which as a man you are being held to a higher standard by God, and you are supposed to be leading us. So if you're not leading us in the right way, your prayers are going to be hindered, because you're not doing what you're supposed to do. So that's that, and we're going to go into the next verse, which is, that one was 1 Peter 3:7. Alright, so the next one is Ephesians 5:25-29. And it says, husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her. So this is saying that Christ loved the church. Like, he looks at the church as his bride. So the temple, like, he was very strict about the temple and how they did things in the temple. Like, he loved the temple. Like, that was his thing. So it states in the Bible that the church is his bride. So if Jesus looks as the church as his bride, and he's telling you to treat your wife as Christ loved the church, that means that the same amount of love that was given to the church by Jesus, you should be still giving the same amount of love to your wife. So again, it says, husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church and give himself up for her, and gave himself up for her, that he may sanctify her, having cleansed her by the washing of water with the word, so that he might present the church to himself in splendor, without spot or wrinkle or any such thing, that she might be holy and without blemish. In the same way, husbands should love their wives as their own body. He who loves his wife loves himself. For no one ever hated his own flesh, but nourishes and cherishes it, just as Christ does the church. So I'm gonna say one thing that might be that now is kind of making sense, because I've never read this full verse. I've always heard people say, husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church. But to read, in the same way, husbands should love their wives as their own bodies. He who loves his wife loves himself. And now that I'm thinking about it, I really feel like the way a lot of men is raised, they were raised to be the man. They were raised to be tough and to not cry and to not show any emotions. And I feel like that is not the right way that they should be raised, because now when they get older, they don't know how to be vulnerable, and they end up having a lot of insecurities, which men have a lot of insecurities. This is why they go out and do. It's never, like I always say, it's not you. When they go out and do what they want to do, it's not you. It's something in them that is making them feel like they are not amounting to what they thought they would be at that point, or what they wish that they could amount to. And if they don't love themselves, they cannot love you. Same way if I say, how can I expect somebody to love me if I don't love myself? How can I expect to want somebody to make me happy if I don't even know what makes me happy or can make myself happy? You have to first find yourself within before you try to give all that to somebody else. You'll end up being stressed and giving out of an empty well when you're giving to people what you don't even have. And I had to learn that. I had to really be like, okay, everybody that I'm like, I'm not happy here. I'm not happy here. And it wasn't the person. It was literally me. If I'm not happy, it's a reason. And I need to go and find the root as to why I'm not happy. So men, please take the time to figure yourself out. Don't just jump from woman to woman to woman to woman, or try to prove yourself to other men that you can get women, or just doing crazy things that is not going to help you in the long run. You have to take the time to get around community that will help you grow. And I think a lot of times it has to do with men talk about when women and their friends, and how, oh, when you're around that person, that's who you turn into. But it's the same thing for men as well. The more you're around the same crowd, like, that's who you're going to be turned into. Like, you can try to say, oh, I'm different all you want to, but the apple don't fall too far from the tree. Like, you're going to get into those similar ways and then find yourself stuck in a place that you probably never thought you were going to be in. It's easier to go backwards than it is to go forward. So you have to be proactive and find ways that will help you move forward. You have to, if you need counseling, get counseling. It's okay. I don't understand why people think counseling is so bad. Like, it's not bad. I don't want nobody knowing my business. God already knows your business. So, and God is the only person that matters. You cannot think that you can get help if you're holding it in. God can't help you in an area that you're not honest about. So you can say that, oh, I'm hiding this one thing and I don't want nobody to know. And even though God sees it, He still lets you hide it, but you're still dealing with it every day. There's not a day that go by that you don't think about it, that you don't stress about it, because you're trying to keep it down and keep it within. You have to let it out and let it go for you to be able to move on from it. So that means that you have to be honest with yourself and allow God to help you in that area. And really, you don't, for me, I feel like you don't need counseling in a sense, because it is good to have somebody to talk to. But when you really go to God and you're honest with God, He will show you the things that you need to work on. There's things that you might not think that you need to work on, but when you go to God and ask Him, like, okay, I want to know the things that I need to work on, because again, you're not going to ever be able to get to the promises that He had for you until you're ready for what He has for you. You're going in circles constantly. So men, we gotta get it together. I'm not a man, but I say we, because we, we're all in this together. If we can help in any kind of way, we should be there to help and support in a sense as well. And I'm trying not to talk about ladies, because I know we're gonna come up with our own question, so I'm gonna keep that right there. But yeah, that was a big one for them to say, he who loves his wife loves himself. And I think that, like, I don't feel like they don't love you. I just think that He said they love Him, they love their wives as they love themselves, which they might be okay with themselves, but they might not be really genuinely happy or genuinely love themselves. So even though they try to show you love, they're still falling short, because they really don't love themselves to the fullest potential of them really loving themselves. So yeah, guys, you gotta go and find what makes you happy. You gotta go find love within yourself and learn to be vulnerable. It's okay. It is okay to cry. Like, people who tell men, or even little boys, if you tell them that they're not supposed to cry, that is a lie. Like, they have emotions. God gave us all emotions. He didn't say that only a certain group of people can use their emotions. Even Jesus cried. It says Jesus wept. You can't tell a young boy not to cry. Like, that's not okay. It's not okay. Allow them to let it out, because then they really won't know how to love or show love when they get older. Alright, so the next verse, Bible, what is it? The next chapter. The next chapter is Ephesians 5:28. In the same way, husbands should love their wives as their own bodies. You just read that. Oh, that's why they pulled that out. They was like, we're going to focus in on this. So the first one was Ephesians 5:25-29. And it was like, in case you missed it, Ephesians 5:28 again says, in the same way, husbands should love their wives as their own bodies. He who loves his wife loves himself. And again, this is all Bible. The Open Bible Info, they reference the ESV version. But this is why, too, I say I go back and forth with my King James Version. So all the new ones that I do, I'm really here and doing it for you, but I am going to go back and really write it out and study it more. This is just something, a brief overview as to what we find together. You should still be going and talking to God about it and allowing Him to deal with you in the way that He needs to deal with you. Alright, now the next one is Genesis 2:24. Therefore a man shall leave his father and his mother and hold fast to his wife, and they shall become one flesh. Are you mama's boys? Therefore a man shall leave his father and his mother and hold fast to his wife. So I'll be seeing all these memes going around saying who comes first and why. Right now, it just tells you, when you get married, you leaving your mother and your father. Same for the woman. When you get married and they give your hand over to that man, you're leaving your mother and your father, who was once the head of your life, which was your parents, because raise up a child in the way that they should go, that you are responsible for that child. And then once they get married, their spouse is responsible. They're responsible for each other. They become one. So in the sense of them becoming one, mamas, I know you love your son so much. I know you don't want him to be taken from you. But I say specifically mamas because I see this more. I don't really see a father going hard over their daughter or their son. It's mainly the mothers. And when they get married, like, you become secondary. I don't mean to say it in that sense as if it's rude or anything, but you do become secondary. So in that order, it would be for a husband, it would be his wife, then his children, for a husband, in that order, it would be his wife, then his children, then his mother, well, his parents, because of the fact that when him and his wife is one, like, they're one. They can't be separated, so they're one. And the children come after because the children needs to be led by examples. They need to watch what you guys are doing to even grow. You can't put a child before your wife or your husband when they don't know which way to go. Y'all come together because y'all are one. Y'all stand the ground. Y'all stand firm to whatever you're teaching your child so that they can become older. And yes, the mother is there to help in any kind of way she can. She has her own life, or she should have her own life and be worrying about, again, we're going to get to the women, but she should be worrying about whatever it is that God has her doing, because now this is a family that is growing up and being taught the way that they should go after the mother has taught them the way that they should go. And man, that's another whole thing. Parenting is another one that's going to be coming up. Just saying. But yeah, no, even with a wife, like, your husband comes first. Yeah. Your wife comes first. And I see that a lot of times people, they kind of get upset if the mother want to sit in the front seat. For me, it's not that big of a deal. No, I have never been married, but the people that I've talked to, like, I've always let their mother, their grandmother just sit in the front because, like, out of respect. That is just a respect thing for me. I do kind of feel like a lot of women be trying to be petty and say he's mine now just to get back at the mother for whatever reason. Again, I've never been in that type of situation. I'm only speaking off of what I've seen, so it's always two sides to a story. But for me, I've always just gotten in the back seat because I am young. I can, like, I'm not saying that they're not young, but it's easier for me to just hop in and be in a smaller, even like, so if the back seat is smaller and uncomfortable, yes, I'll sit in the back and be willing to be uncomfortable so that they can be comfortable. Like, it's not that big a deal for me. It's not. Even when I get married, like, I still feel like I would hop right in the back seat. It's not that big of a deal. But again, we're not talking about the women, we're talking about the men. But if your wife feel a certain type of way about that, then it's up to you as a man to address it. Like, she's your wife, you chose to marry her, even with whatever conflict may have been going on. So if you married her knowing that there was conflict, that means that you loved her enough to say, I still want you to be my wife. So you have to put the boundaries up and say, this is how it's going to be, this is how it's not going to be. It's up to you. People will only get away with what you allow them to get away with. You have to nip it in the bud in the beginning, because the longer you allow it to marinate, the more that's going to build up, and bad things come out of build up. Y'all, this light just keep going off, but I gotta stick this time. I don't know if it's gonna be long enough. went and got a stick because it's centered, and every 30 minutes, if I'm not moving, it goes off. I need to try to change it because it's just getting annoying at this point. Or I just need to watch and tap it before that time comes, but we're gonna get back into it. So let's go to the next chapter, which is if we did that one. Says James 1:19. Know this, my beloved brothers, let every person be quick to hear, slow to speak, and slow to anger. Which means, to me, again, this is what I get out of Revelations, but I'm doing it with you because, you know, it's good to get an idea as to what we're doing, so that when you do go and study the Bible, you know, like you have a guide to lean on. But when it says be quick to hear, like listen, you have to listen. Open up those ears. Stop ignoring. You have to listen. Do you know? I'm gonna just give y'all a little 411. When you listen to women, it could be the smallest thing. They can say, oh, I gotta do this at 4 o'clock tomorrow. And of course they think you're just gonna forget. But if you remember, that's gonna stand out way more. Like that one little thing is going to stand out, because it's this mentality that men don't listen. Like they don't remember nothing, they don't notice nothing. Like you have to listen to what is being said. Like I'm trying to tell you, it's very beneficial for you if you listen. Just listen. And it says slow to speak. A lot of times we get to a point where we're so quick to respond that we're only listening to respond and not listening to understand. You have to understand what is being said so that you can respond responsibly. Because once you say what you say, you can't take that back. And I think that's a lot of people's issue, is that we speak too soon without thinking about what was said already and what we should say, that we say it in a moment and it's crazy. And you can't take it back. And that's the bad part of it, is that you can't take it back. And then slow to anger. Don't be so quick to just get mad. Don't be so quick to say whatever. Like if you need to take a second, okay, I'm going to take a second to gather my thoughts. I'm going to take a second to figure some things out. But don't ever go to bed mad. Don't ever go to bed mad. Don't do it. I don't care how mad you is or how bad the situation is. Figure it out that day. Do not allow it to roll over to the next day, and be honest about it. Like don't just say whatever, it don't matter. Like be honest, because if you lying to yourself, it's just gonna sit there. You have to be honest. It's just gonna sit there and keep bothering you, when if you would have just been honest and got it out, you would have been able to let it go a lot faster. And that was James 1:19. So now we're gonna go to Philippians 2 and 4. And it says, let each of you look not only to his own interests, but also to the interests of others. So basically saying it shouldn't be my way or no way. You have to be open to other people's ways, knowing that you don't know it all. Nobody knows it all. We don't know everything. We all could use some extra learning. me myself as well, I could use extra learning, like we all could. There's not a doctor that knows it all. That's why doctors send each other to other doctors. Not them, but like send patients to other doctors, because one doctor doesn't know it all. They all can still learn. They all can grow from each other. And a lot of times people get upset when someone is trying to tell them something, when it's like, I'm just trying to show you, I'm maybe just trying to show you a better way that can be done, or I'm just trying to help you in an area. When you're not receiving to other people's interests, you're making it seem like it's just you. And when you become one, you have to figure that out. You have to come to a agreement on a lot of things, because it's not going to just be done how you want it to be done. You have to consider the other person, which is very important. And I think that's why, like, before I get married, we're gonna have to have a long talk and really figure each other out. Like, I'm at the point now where I don't, for guys to even, like, for me to talk to them, or for them to be us to exchange numbers, I should say, for me and a guy to exchange numbers, he has to answer 3 questions first for me. And I would love if somebody, gave me questions as well, because it should be on both sides. We both should be held to a certain standard before we just take whoever. But the first question is, who is the head of your life? Are you abstinent? And is marriage something that you want to do? And even though, like, I feel like there's no point of us starting something just to find out that we're not on the same page, that we're not gonna, like, that it just won't work out. So for me, it's like that. I don't want to, I've been doing it that way and it hasn't been working for me. So I'm going to set a standard, set a boundary to say this is what needs to be done before, because if we don't agree on it, it's just not gonna work. And when it comes to living situations, like, this is somebody who's going to be living with you, hopefully for the rest of your life. But I feel like it's very important to tell people your pet peeves and have conversations, deep conversations about how you live your life, how you live on your own, because when you bring that together, it can be very frustrating to have to figure it out in the moment. And I've learned that I don't want to have to figure that out in the moment. These are questions that I definitely have to get out, because living with somebody is really, really hard. It's really hard. Now, Genesis 2:18. Then the Lord said, "It is not good that man should be alone. I will make him a helper fit for him." So that's why he made Eve. He made her out of his rib. And he knew that he was going to need someone by his side, because again, he says 2 is better than 1. He knew that it wouldn't be good for him to be by himself, because he would have just been, what he would have did, Adam being out there by himself, well, we know he wouldn't have been living in sin. We don't know that, because he could have still ate the apple. The enemy is sneaky. He could have probably still found a way to get him to eat the apple. We don't know. But it would have been very boring for him. And how would he have kids? Yeah. He needed a woman. So now, there's so many scriptures in here. Oh, so when I was saying that husbands is the head of the wife, the actual scripture is Ephesians 5:23. And it says, "For the husband is the head of the wife, even as Christ is the head of the church, his body, and is himself its Savior." So yes, the man is the head. Ooh, this is a good one. So after that, this is coming all up. So that one was he's the head of the wife, which was Ephesians 5:23. And then 1 Corinthians 11:3 says, "But I want you to understand that the head of every man is Christ," which means the man has to be submitted to God. "The head of a wife is her husband, and the head of Christ is God." So there is a chain. What do they call that? A custody of chain of custody. I don't know, but it's definitely just it shows God, Christ, man, woman, and then their children. Children is not even, you know what I mean? He doesn't even list children as in there, but again, you know that when you have children, you have to have them. Those are your children. It doesn't say Christ, man, mother, wife. It says Christ, man, wife. So yeah, you have to treat your wives very, very well. It states it in the Bible, like, treat her as you would treat Christ. Like, so even in the Bible it says, do everything as if you're doing it for the Lord. If the Lord was standing there while you was doing whatever for your wife or to your wife, would it be good, or will he consider it good or bad? That's how you should be thinking. Like, if you really saw God standing in that moment when you were treating your wife, would he consider it good or bad? And don't be so what is the word I'm looking for? What is the word when people is defensive? Don't be so defensive, because I promise you, women's side of the story is coming as well, and they will get, the Bible of what a wife is supposed to be to their husband as well. But now that we got the verses out of the way, I do like to just see what the world is saying. So we'll just randomly type in Google and just say, how should men treat their wives? Just to see what people say. This is actually pretty good. Okay, so this is the first thing that came up was, how should a husband treat his wife? 14 ways to do it right. And this is on the Bridal Box, thebridalbox.com. So the first one is, treat her with respect in front of others, which I think that is very important. If you are defiling your wife or embarrassing her or yelling at her and just treating her like she's a child in front of people, that's going to bring confusion into your home. Like, there's a place and a time for everything, and honestly, everybody shouldn't be knowing your business when it comes to marriage, because of how much the enemy doesn't want your relationship to last. So if you have so many people in your business, you're going to have so many people in your ears telling you things that you probably shouldn't be listening to. Especially those, I tell people, I'm not married, so there is no way that I would ever tell any of my married friends that they should get a divorce, because I don't understand I've never been divorced to tell people to get a divorce. Now, I'll say that separation might need to happen to maybe better themselves in a separate situation if they can't seem to get things right. But I would never just say go and get a divorce, because God can heal all things. Like, he can deliver them and bring them back together better than they was before they left. So yeah, you gotta allow people to not have much say over what you're doing in your marriage. So that was number one. Number two, what does it says? Do not hide your feelings. Why shouldn't you hide your feelings? Because you're gonna just keep putting them on top of each other, and one day you're going to explode, and it is not going to be pretty at all. You have to be vulnerable. And I know it doesn't sound because you're supposed to be, it's your pride. Just learn to swallow your pride and say, you know what? I am going to be a little bit softer. I am going to be a little bit more gentle. And be open. It's okay. Be honest. Like, telling the truth and being honest feels so much better. Like, it's like weights lifted off your shoulders when you're honest and open, because what can anybody say if you're honest about yourself? Like, can't nobody say anything at all. And yeah, they'll try to make fun of it, but I feel like anybody that make fun of a man for being vulnerable have issues with themselves. Again, anybody that point the finger at you for being you is really because they don't know how to be that way, and they wish that they could be that way. So don't take offense to it. And your wife should be the first person, like the only person that your wife should be the one who you trust in the most. Why are you marrying her if you don't trust her with your feelings? She should be able to, when you're one, she should be able to know everything without it being a problem. She should know it all. Just tell her all. Tell her everything. You tell her everything, then if something come up, you ain't gotta worry about it, because you already told her. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a woman. I'm saying that because I'm the woman that I just say everything, because one, I have nothing to hide, and two, if something comes up, and I learned that the hard way, just say it all. So I don't like a guilty conscience. I don't like holding things in. Like, I gotta say what I gotta say, and once I say what I gotta say, it's out there. Number three, treat her with dignity in front of children. If you have children, you should not be yelling at her or demeaning her or telling her what she's doing to the child is wrong. In that moment, okay, but go behind closed doors and tell her that what she probably did to the child is not right, because then if you do it in front of the child that would think that it's okay, that they can come to you and be like, well, mom did this and I didn't like that. And of course children have opinion, and we'll get to that again too, because children have a question in there as well, but you have to speak good to each other in front of the kids, because again, children will be more likely to do as you do than to do as you say. And if they see you treating their mom wrong, they're going to grow up to think that that's how they're supposed to be. Your daughter is going to think that that's acceptable for a man to treat her that way, and your son is going to think it's okay to treat a woman that way, and it's not okay. Would you ever treat your mother that way? If you would never disrespect your mother, you should never disrespect your wife, because once you marry your wife, she becomes over your mother. I know a lot of people probably won't agree with me, but it ain't me saying it. It's not me. Don't be mad. Don't hate the messenger. Alright, number 4, do not hide financial information from your wife. Again, when you become one, you have to be honest, which I feel like financial information should be something that comes out before marriage in the first place. Like, we should be on a path to getting ourselves. We shouldn't be coming into this with debt on either side. At least for me, I don't want to come into debt in a marriage. Like, when we come together, we coming together with a clean slate. I'm not trying to pick up your mess, and I don't want you to try to pick up my mess. Like, if we agree to help each other, okay, let's help each other before that, and then once we figure ourselves out and get our lives together, then we can come together and get married. But if you already gotten married in that situation, be honest about it. Don't hide it, because hiding it makes the situation worse. Number 5 is do not act as if you are better than her. Don't think that you're better than her. Just because she's a woman, she has rights too. She's just as much as a human being as you are. Yes, you're over her. You're over her, but you're not better than her. God still looks at y'all the same. Like, God is still going to judge y'all separately. Even though in a marriage you are one on earth, when that time comes, you guys are still separate. You guys are, you're not better than her. You can't do one thing and then tell her she can't do it because you're better or because you're a man. Like, it doesn't work that way. Number 6, how should a husband treat his wife? Always take decisions together. That's a good one. Take decisions together, or make decisions together, because it means that y'all on one accord, and when you're on one accord, things just flow better. So make decisions together. Don't make a decision and then be like, oh, I did this, by the way, I did this. Okay, so what were you gonna tell me? Oh, I didn't think you'd really care. You didn't think that I would really care because you assumed. That's why we should just tell each other everything, so that there's no assuming, there's nobody getting upset. You know, we just live this happy life, even though trials are still gonna come. 7, listen to her with interest. I said that. Make sure you're listening. I'm trying to tell you. Thank me later. Listen to her with interest. Number 8, how should why did I keep saying that? Number 8, help her with household work. Listen, I am all for cleaning. I like being organized, things like that. But I don't want to feel like I'm cleaning up after a child. If you just see me clean a kitchen and then you come in there and you mess it up, not even 5 seconds after I just cleaned it up, and don't wash out the dish you use, leave the stove messy, leave the counter messy. Like, just be mindful of what you use. Take a second to look and say, was this here before I got here? If it wasn't there before you got there, you should put it back. It takes 2 seconds to put things back. It takes 2 seconds to wash out the dish you just used. It's easier for you to wash it out in that moment, because when you let it sit there, the food get all hard and it just becomes harder. Clean up the mess in the moment so that it's not harder later. And that's a message for just anything. All those times you say, I'll do it later, I'll do it later, you're just making that mess harder for you. Do it in a moment. Just help out. Just clean up after yourself in a way that, you know, like I know men say, oh, well, if I'm taking care of the bills and if I'm doing this, I shouldn't have to worry about it. But you shouldn't also think that you got a slave. Like, you don't have a slave. If you want a maid, then you hire a maid. That's what maids do. They clean up after you. A wife is to keep things tidy. And I know everybody got their own definition of it, but for me, I don't want to feel like I have a child. I want you to be able to have some sense of cleaning up after you, looking and making sure that if it wasn't there when you got there, just put it back. Simple as that. Control your revolving eye. Men have a natural tendency to ogle at times, most times. While it may seem normal while you're happily single, does not work well when you are married. It will also cause your partner pain and disappointment. Oh, so that means like looking at other people. Yes, that is important. Don't be now if y'all into that, that's between y'all. You know what I mean? That's between y'all and God. When you married her because you saw something in her. You saw, and it, again, just because you're married doesn't mean that you became blind. Like, of course, there's beautiful women all over the place. Social media in itself is a big portion to being able to just see all these different women doing all these different things. So it's up to you to stay firm in God and say, you know what, I'm not going to allow this to tempt me because I have my wife. I love my wife. And women, I'm just going to say this. I know we're not talking about the women, but just because you're married don't mean that you should not be keeping yourself up. Doesn't mean that you shouldn't be putting in an effort to look good. Like you've gotten too comfortable, and then it ends up being when you break up, now you want to get yourself together. No, keep yourself together within the relationship, and you don't have to worry about that. Same for men. Men lose themselves as well. Make it a habit, even if you do it together. Say we're gonna try these new meals. We're gonna try to eat healthier. We're gonna try to work out. We're gonna try to switch up our style, or whatever you think that you need to do. Figure it out together so that y'all stay happy, y'all stay in a good place. You don't want somebody, that's why people say you're not the same person that I married, and I understand people grow and they change, but if y'all one, y'all should be changing together, not separately. That changing separately should have happened before, because then you'll know who you are once you are married. So yeah, number 10 is respect her desires. So I think they're talking about, so when they say respect her desires, I think they're talking about sex, which I don't, I agree with respecting, because y'all should be respecting each other. But men need sex, and that's just what it is. So if you're married to a man and you're not giving him that, you're gonna have to figure something out, because you're not supposed to be denying them. But that's for the ladies. We're gonna get to the ladies. But men, when it comes to sex, no does mean no. Like, if it's a no, don't force it. Try to talk about it, maybe see reasons why. But it's very unattractive when no is being said and it's still being forced. It's not the same. So I would just be, trying to figure out other ways to see why it's not happening, so that you can grow in that area. And I don't know why people feel like sex is such a hard topic to talk about. Like, God made it. It's good. It's supposed to be done in the marriage, yes. Because when it's done outside the marriage, you gain soul ties and you gain all of the spirits that the other person have, and that's why you become the person that you don't realize, because you've taken on somebody else's spirits, or multiple spirits. But they can be prayed off, so that's another thing. You can definitely pray them off and ask God to help you in that area. But okay, so this is what I was saying. So sex should be talked about. That should be a topic that you talk about before even doing anything. Because I feel like when people have sex before talking about it, then they only get opened up to what happened in that moment. So they might add some stuff, they might change it up a little bit, but it's never really talked about the way that it should be. Whereas if you talked about it before you had it, people will know what you like, you'll know what they like, you'll know how to, you'll just know each other better. Just saying that, like, you'll understand each other better when it comes to sex if you talk about sex before actually having sex. So 11 is respect her privacy. It is hard to have privacy in a marriage, but I feel like it can happen. You just gotta find that time to be able to do your own thing. I think men need privacy as well. It's very important to just, even if you go out, if she go out with the girls or you go out with the guys, it's important to have that time away. I feel like if you're always together, there's no way for you to miss each other. And if that's all you see 24/7, it's like people will want to start exploring. So you do have to have privacy. You do have to have that little space. So I don't know why they just said respect her privacy. Well, I guess if they're talking about men, yeah. So respect her privacy. Never intimidate her. So never intimidate her. Okay. So number 12, never intimidate her. And with that, when you're talking about how should a husband treat his wife, it is needless to say and very obvious that intimidation and being pushy, whether physical or mental, is an absolute contempt of your spouse's feeling and emotions. You will surely drag your marriage down the drain by doing so. It says do's. If you ever get mad at her, do not react immediately. Instead, it is better to stay quiet for a few minutes and then address the situation. You are an adult and you need to behave like one by sorting out your problems together and reaching a mutual conclusion. Don't. Just because you are the man of the house does not mean you have to be a tyrant dictator whom your wife is supposed to serve around the clock. Like I said earlier, you both are equals, and being a man does not give you the additional powers. Respect her for whatever she is, and you will eventually draw the maximum satisfaction for her. I don't think that went with intimidation at all. So number 12, never intimidate her. I feel like never try to stand up to her and be like, I'm the man, and if you don't, I might smack fire into you, you know. You gotta be easy. That's one thing I never played with though. When it comes to putting your hands on a woman, that is not okay. You don't intimidate me. And I feel like men definitely try you before they actually try you. And anytime I wrestle, I'm gonna show you my strength. You might still win, but I bet you walk over, but you're limping back. So yeah, don't be just trying to be all buffy with her, you know. Be nice and gentle. Women are emotional people. All right, we almost to the end. Number 13, show her your appreciation. It is the little things that matter. I'm trying to tell you. If you came in the house one day with a candy bar, I bet you she'll love you forever. That might be what you need to do to get some. It is the little things. It is the little things. Just saying, you know what, thank you. You ain't even gonna buy nothing. You know, just be like, you know, I just want to let you know that I really appreciate you. I just want to let you know that I love you. Saying some words of affection, just showing that you care. That's what matters, is showing that you care and taking the time to slow down to show that you care. Because I feel like men sometimes they're always going. I feel like all of us in general is always going, but as a man, they feel like they have to be doing something to prove a point, and it's like, it's okay, just slow down and, show that you care. And for those men that you got that's playing video games all day, I don't really know what to tell you about that. I've dealt with that before in my first relationship, and it was kind of annoying. So I've never talked to a guy ever again that played video games, because who got time for that? Like, you literally want to sit. It's like the same thing as somebody sitting on social media all day. It's taking away from the things that you could be doing. Like, there's things that we could be actually getting done and growing and progressing in, but you're doing senseless things that don't require no. You would say that you don't want to work an 8-hour job but play the game for 8 hours. Where's the sense in that? There's no sense. Who do you appreciate more? Your wife or your game? You have to show her appreciation. You have to show her that you care. Number 14 is the last one. Be her emotional support and always be there for her. I think that is a big one, because if she feel like she can't come to you with some of her biggest problems, or even if they're just little, like, you're supposed to be that one person, even if she doesn't have any friends. Like, even if she does have a best friend, like, there's things that she's going to tell you that she won't ever tell her best friend, and you're supposed to be that for her. You're supposed to let her know, like, you can come to me and tell me anything. We can get through anything together, like, and support her. Like, literally, you're guiding her, but still support her. Don't just shoot down everything and make her feel like she's nothing or she has no purpose. Like, be there. And again, gentle and kind. We're emotional people. So if you want her to be that loving, genuine, gentle person to you, you have to show that as well. Like, I feel like relationships, everybody is walking on eggshells because they don't know for sure, and trust has become so much of a problem that people are walking on eggshells because they don't know what's gonna happen. But so I had to really start doing it. So I was talking to this guy that he lived out of town. So for me, now I feel like I could do a long distance relationship because of the process that I plan on going through. Like, I want to get to I really want us to be able to get to know each other. I don't want to just jump into anything. But then I couldn't, I said I couldn't do a long distance relationship because in my mind I'm thinking, like, how am I supposed to know what they're doing, how they're doing it, who they're doing it with? Like, they could be living a whole nother life for all I know, and I didn't want that. So I would have to, like, literally be like, okay, Lord, in the moment of us talking, like, help me to not put these same type of thoughts in my mind as I've been through before. Like, help me to be content in what I said I'm gonna do, which is not jump down his throat about, oh, what are you doing, how you doing it. Like, just be quiet and sit back and know that if it's meant to be, it'll be. And when I would do that, a lot of times it would be like, if he didn't text me fast enough, it would bother me, but I would be like, okay, I'm just gonna, let it sit, let it simmer, and it will come back as it being, something that came up, which was, like, okay, that's what happened. But I eventually just couldn't do it no more, so it's like, I'm gonna just let this go, but now I know that you have to understand that you have to, when you trust God, when you trust God and allow Him to direct your path, and when you love yourself and respect yourself so much, you understand that, okay, if this is what you want to do, if you want to risk me, okay, then do that. That just means we weren't meant to be together. I'm not going to be mad at you, and I understand it might be hard, but I'm not going to be down your throat about what you did, because that just means God has somebody better for me. He has somebody waiting for me, because the man that God has for me wouldn't treat me that way. So I'm just at a point now where it's like, and I feel like that goes both ways. Even as a man, if she wants to risk you, okay, go ahead, do as you please, because it's not about you. People are going to do what they want to do. People go out and do what they want to do because of something that's lacking in them, something that they're feeling in themselves. So you can be the best person that you could ever be to a person, and they'll still do what they want to do, because it's never about you. And once I realized that, I was like, okay, I'm not about to be fighting over no man. I'm not about to, like, in my marriage, yeah, I'll fight for my marriage, but it'd be a marriage that I got to a point of we're understanding each other. We're in this marriage together. So I just hope that men, after seeing this, decide to treat your wives, better. And I know that it takes time and it takes progression, but just be mindful of it. Once you know, you have to just allow it to keep flowing in your head, so that eventually you get to a point that is just fluent. Yeah, so that is just fluent. But that is all that we have today for how should men treat their wives. I hope that it helped some people, some men. Wives, don't be down your man's throat. It's not easy being a man. I don't know that, but I just feel like it's not, because it's not easy being a woman. So it gotta not be easy being a man as well. And I feel like we're hard on each other because we're hard on ourselves. So we just gotta be gentle and kind. I'm gonna keep saying it. Just lay back a little bit. Take a breather. Everything is gonna be okay. Everything is gonna flow the way God wants it to flow. And if it don't, He gonna let you know. You just gotta stay true to yourself and true to God, and know that He's going to direct your path. So I hope you all have a great night. It was fun talking to you all once again. We will be back in another video with another question. Love you guys.